moving on this fun stuff. And hopefully it's just sharing now. Can everyone see that? Thumbs up.
I can see it.
Okay. Do I have those black boxes showing on screen at all? Is there any black boxes?
Black boxes. I see your, well, we're kind of going back and forth to.
No, Dawn, you're good. You're good.
Okay. So for some reason, Zoom, once in a while, when you have that toolbar open up or you have the participant list open, it'll show it for whatever reason. So once in a while, it does that. And you can't see the PowerPoint because of it. So great. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you so much. For time's sake, because Trish has to leave us, if you guys want to just introduce yourselves in the chat, I think that will save us a little bit of time. And thank you for your flexibility and being here with us. My name is Dawn. I am the regional manager with the Farmington Women's Business Center, hosted by West. West is a nonprofit agency. We are a statewide organization. We work with entrepreneurs and small businesses to help you start and grow your business. And we do that through micro lending, consulting, and training. So we're very happy to have you guys here today. So yeah, if you just want to introduce yourselves in the chat, that would be great. And please, share information about your programs, your business, Facebook pages, resources, whatever you like to do that, share that with each other, because we also like to do networking when we have our sessions as well too. I kind of made a decision yesterday. I got to thinking we were supposed to be doing training on talking about customer personas, which is part of the customer discovery process. But I think it would be more beneficial if we just talked about what the customer discovery process looks like and how to get that started to move into customer personas. And then we'll come back next month and we'll work with Michael on getting a date set up, and we will deliver the customer persona training so that way you have these foundational building blocks. So again, just introduce yourself in the chat if you want to tell anything about your business. Is there anything you hope to gain? And then we'll kind of do a check-in about midpoint and look at those chat questions and see what we can do to address anything that you may have. So again, thank you for being here with us. Talk a little bit about the session objectives. We're going to talk about understanding why customer discovery is really the number one priority for any entrepreneur, either wanting to start a business or to grow a business, and why that is so important. We have some steps to customer discovery that we're going to talk about. I don't know if we'll get to the actual plan writing today, but if we can, we'll definitely start working on writing a customer discovery plan. But we'll definitely get through those processes on what you need to do to start exploring your customers. Actually discovering your customers, really. Okay. So if you think about it for a minute, and just take a few minutes and just jot down some thoughts. What do you think a market is? How would you define a market for either your business that you currently have or one that you're trying to start? So just take a few minutes and just jot down just 2 or 3 words that come out to you. Anybody want to share what they think a market is? Just unmute yourself and shout it out.
So I thought I might chime in here.
Really?
And I could be totally off base here. I'm not sure. But I would think that a market would be kind of a group of people with like interests that would be drawn towards your product or service. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Anyone else have any thoughts? Don't be shy.
This is Trish. I would say it is a niche of buyers that have a problem I can solve.
Awesome. Those are very two great interpretations. So let's now look at what an official definition looks like. And so for this training, when we look at the word market, we're going to be looking at a market as a structure that allows buyers and sellers to exchange any types of goods, services, and information. So your market is the group of customers that's going to buy your product. So you were both right in some sense, right? You just said it a little bit different. And how you came to that vision may be a little bit different. The customer discovery process is not a one size fit all. You know, you're making different products and selling different products to different people. And so when you go through this process, you know, there may be one person that makes jewelry and maybe one person that does construction. Those are two completely different markets, especially the structures that go along with that market. So, you know, put yourself in the mind frame that it's not a one size fit all. And when you're looking at your markets in terms of your customer groups, again, those are going to be very different for everyone in the Zoom room today. So why should you get out of the building when we use that term for Wes, why should you get outside of your bubble? Why should you, take the glasses off and put a new pair on and see things a little bit different? So you want to look, the reasoning behind that is you want to be able to discover who your customers are and what they want. And before you even answer those questions, you really need to look at where you start, or actually look at what you need to change your business in order to find those customers and discover these things. And those are really important tools that you can develop through this process. And we're going to give you some ways to do that here in a little bit. It's really important to understand the importance of customer discovery, because it helps you identify certain things within your customer market, your pool, your customer pools, however you want to define that as a business owner. For Wes, we call it a market. And so you're going to be able to ask yourself, what does your market look right now? And, is there any processes that you need to change, maybe coming in the near future? As we start coming out of COVID, things may change a little bit. I mean, we changed when COVID hit. A lot of businesses pivoted, which created a whole new customer market for a lot of reasons. A lot of retail stores or storefront sales, businesses started doing online sales. And so that opened up some more customer markets for those businesses that pivoted. And so there may be some things that you can be proactive about right now, because one thing you definitely want to avoid is being reactive, because reaction will not help you in this process, because it is a forward-thinking type process. And also too, with using the customer discovery, looking at the size of your market and making sure that the market, you have enough customers in your market that's going to help you make a profit and build your business to grow and expand. And that's really important, because if you don't understand the needs of your customer, you won't be able to be successful. And that's really a key thing through the discovery process that you learn, is those needs of those customers. You're also going to be able to identify if there's really a demand for your product and your service, and also to the pricing of your product and what people are going to be willing to pay. And so through that discovery process, you'll be able to, have those 4 really key things answered for you. Just some quotes here from Eric Ries. I personally do not know who Eric Ries is, so if anybody does, please let us know. But he's saying, don't be in a rush to get big, be in rush to have a great product. And so one of the things I like to tell my clients is, when I'm working with them one-on-one, is, you come into, especially when you're in a startup type of process, and you have these really great ideas and this really big dream, but that dream may not always be reality. It could be because of lack of money. It could be because of, a lack of education and not knowing how to start a business. It may be just, not having the capabilities to financially understand where your business needs to go and grow. And so we tell our clients is to start small, but dream big. So you're not losing sight of that big picture goal, but you're being realistic about what's happening. And so with this process, again, that product, if you have a great product, take time to develop this process so you can find the right people to sell to. So the job of an entrepreneur, and this is from Ash Mariah from Running Lean. The job of an entrepreneur is to find a business model that works before running out of money. And I think a lot of individuals that start a business, at least from my experience, is, if they don't have really good plans in place, which includes a marketing plan, and part of the customer discovery process is part of creating that marketing plan for your business. For those that have, this really great idea and this really inspiring dream, and they start a business for whatever reason, and they haven't gone through this process, to find a model, to find their customers, to find all these things, and really look at the job description of an entrepreneur, they generally don't keep their doors open very long. And so I think that's really important. The quote that Ash is saying here, that, it takes money to make money, and you want to be smart about it. You want to keep making money to keep your doors open, to sell your products and do all these things that you're passionate about and you're goal driven about, and you want to keep your dream alive. And so going through this process again, and I'm going to sound like a broken record as we go through this next hour or so, but it really is important that you create a journey with this process, and it's not going to happen overnight. It does take some time. And depending on where you're at in your business, it may take you, several years to find out your real true customer market, just because of the nature of how you conduct your business. For others of you, it may not take that long. Again, not a one-size-fits-all process. Okay. Just one more quote by Stephen Gary Blinker. He's an entrepreneur, and I don't know what he's an entrepreneur of. Just an FYI, I did not create this PowerPoint presentation. It's a standard one we use with Wes. So somebody else created it, and we deliver the content and the material. So yeah, Stephen's a great guy, I'm sure, but his quote says, "You can't be smarter than a collective intelligence of your customers." So basically the customer's always right? And when you have a group of people together, you can get a lot of information, a lot of data, a lot of input, a lot of ideas that come from a collective group. And this group is, your customers are very smart people. And it's really great that they are also part of your team as you go through this process as well too. Any questions so far? I usually give about 3 to 5 seconds of silence. And if I don't hear anything, I just move on. Okay. We'll go to the next slide. There are some fallacies when you're looking at going through the customer discovery process. You got to keep in mind that you are not your customer. So you don't want to assume that because you are passionate about your business and your product and a certain way of doing things, that your customers are going to feel that way too. And so, you got to keep in mind, it may be hard to separate because I think a lot of entrepreneurs, they get, what's the right word I'm looking for? They get very personal about their business because sometimes it becomes their life for whatever reason. And it absorbs them, it consumes them, it drives them, whatever. And so those emotions get attached to that. And so when the customer comes back and, kind of tears things apart for you, it could be a very defeating feeling. So you want to separate yourself from that process. You don't want to be offended. You definitely do not want to dismiss your customers or reject anything that you are attached to because they are not. And so learning how to separate those emotions can be difficult, especially if you create handmade items. That's where, you get a lot of that passion and that direction and that drive from, because these are things that you're creating. These are things that you're developing. They come from your heart a lot of the times. And so sometimes those emotions, again, can come off as dismissive. It can offend, so those are things you want to separate yourself from as well too. And then be willing to make changes. If your product is not matching the demand of the market, it's okay to change it. It's okay to find a new one. You can still work within the concept of your business. Again, thinking of creative entrepreneurs who, make stuff with their hands, however, whatever that may be. I mean, that's a wide scope of, opportunities there. But, sometimes it may be just changing a color scheme or changing a pattern design or adding something to it. And same way looking at restaurants, there may be a menu item that is on the list of things to serve, and it's not a very popular item to your customers, but it's a family recipe or whatever that's been handed down, and your family really loves it. And you start collecting all this information from your customers, and they want some changes to it. It may be whatever it may be. It may be a different sauce, or it may be a different side. Whatever that may be, you want to make those changes. The other thing too is you want to make sure is when you do pivot and make those changes to your product or your business, that you can financially support those changes. And that's another important thing when you pivot anything that you do, is to make sure you're not pivoting into something that's going to cost you a lot of money and you cannot sustain. That's one thing when you're going through a research process that you want to make sure that you're able to do. So just make sure that you're doing all types of analysis and data collection on that pivoting process. What happens if you don't have any competition? I mean, this is another fallacy, because every business, regardless of what you do, has some type of competition some way or another. So you want to get yourself out of that mindset that just because you're making a unique product doesn't mean somebody can't find a similar one someplace else, or maybe even something exact, And again, I'm going to go back to fast food, hamburgers and pizza. That's pretty heavily liked by a lot of people. Highly competitive. Everybody's trying to, market and get into the niche in the restaurant world of selling hamburgers and pizza and that kind of thing. And if you think about how many different types of pizza businesses and hamburger joints are in your community, you have competition. You have competition online. You have competition within your own communities and customers. You're going to be competing for customers. And so you never want to think that you don't have any competition, because you do. How you discover that through that process is going to, again, help you look through it with a different lens. And that competition is really, really important that you identify and you research as well as you go through this. And my mouse is stuck. Here we go. Okay. And again, everyone has competition. Everyone, no matter if you believe it or not, it's there. Any questions about competition? Okay, we'll go to the next slide. So we're going to go through some steps of the customer discovery process. So the customer discovery process is going to help you create and understand where you find your customers at. So how do you go about doing that? So that's what we're going to be talking about in these next few slides. The first thing you want to do is you want to formulate a hypothesis for your company. So if you've never done this before, and I hated doing this, specifically, like if you remember back in high school and college, for some of you, it's not that long, ago, just freshly out of college, possibly, or I think I've been out of high school, I don't know, 30 some years. But anyway, I hated formulating a hypothesis because I could never grasp the concept of like, well, why do I have to figure out what the problem is? Why can't I just talk about what I want to talk about? And so So understanding that even within business, you have something that you're creating that customers want, for the most part, that either is solving a problem or it's improving their quality of life, however that is defined. And so when you're looking at the hypothesis, you want to be able to ask yourself, what is your product solving? What is the problem to it? What solution are you providing to that problem? You also want to be able to ask yourself, and through the hypothesis problem, are people going to use your product? Are they going to, schedule your service? And what is the reasoning behind that? The because. And also, too, are they going to love it? And what are the benefits it's going to offer? And so again, just going back to some, that fallacy that we discussed about the competition. And when you're looking at the competition, you want to be able to take these things within the hypothesis and compare it to what your competitors are doing too. Are they providing a product that they're solving a problem better, or having a solution to that customers are purchasing? Another one too is, looking at the location. Believe it or not, that's something, you could be looking at in hypothesis two again, because location matters as well too. So those might be some of the things that you can look at when you're creating this hypothesis. And it's just a statement. And you just want to create this statement together using these questions here. So one of the other things you'll be doing in the customer discovery process is asking people questions. So, what do you ask them? What might be some questions that you could come up and ask people, about what type of things they need to know about your business and the data that you're trying to collect around your business and your products. And so this is where you could get very creative. There's no right or wrong way to ask the questions. We'll have a list here to help you identify, that list for interviewing. There is some things that you can do is, focus groups are really great. Getting together a bunch of people doing customer surveys, and if you think about when you go, like to Walmart or McDonald's or something like that, and they hand you your receipt and they're asking you, oh, please fill out the customer survey at the end of your receipt, and you get a so-and-so, be eligible for a gift card or whatever, that's exactly what they're doing is the companies and those businesses are collecting that data about their products and their services. And they get very creative in how they get that information from you. Even restaurants, if you go to restaurants, they may give you like a customer survey card, leave it on the table, ask you to fill it out, they pick it up. That's what they're doing, is they're collecting that data. And so they're trying to learn more about their customers to see if they have a new target market that's using their services. Is there another product that they can create or introduce and gain more customers that way? And so that's just some of the quick examples that you can do, and what you can model with some of the, especially the bigger companies that do that data collection. You want to be able to develop a list of questions. So, ask yourself about your product and list the questions to ask your customers. Like, one really good question to ask is, to put on your list is, what does my product do? How does it make people's lives better? How is it unique and how is it different? You can ask questions about, how much would you pay for this product, and give them, give your surveyors a range of prices. Ask them if they know about your mission statement. Do they like your logo? All of these things, you can get a lot of information from the survey and focus group process. You want to create a sample size of at least 10 people. I wouldn't make it so big, to where you're sampling 100 people, because then it gets too much to manage, and trying to, organize the data and stuff like that. But 10 to 15 people is a good size, to be able to analyze the information that's provided. Try to meet them in person for interviews if you can. It's not always practical. Another great way too is, Facebook, social media, Instagram, they have these tools set up now to where you can put surveys out and ask questions, and people can provide the feedback right there. And so that may be an easy way to get all of the, to get more people engaged. And it's a great way to get people to visit your business, your websites, that kind of thing too. So, use those tools for those platforms to help you work smarter, not harder with that as well too. Once you've gotten all the information collected from your sampling size, look at the data that you've gathered and see if you can identify patterns. You should be able to go back to your hypothesis after you've gotten those patterns identified, and you'll be able to see if your hypotheses were correct in your statement. You'll be able to look to see which ones were wrong. And you'll also be able to see, if there's anything you need to change within your business or your business model, even your product or your services, your pricing structure, even your marketing strategies. And if there was any other assumptions that you need to adjust from those from that sample size and the data that you collected. So when you're putting your sample size together, if you choose to do like a focus group, if you choose to do a Facebook survey, you don't necessarily need to do that because you'll have a wide range of individuals using the social media platforms. But if you do something a face-to-face, you definitely want to take any biases out. So you don't want to use any relatives, specifically your partner. If you have a spouse or a life partner, you don't want to use any type of those folks there. You don't want to use any of your friends. You don't want to use any of your, I love does anybody play World of Warcraft anymore? I don't even know. You don't want to use any of your online friends, gaming type people. Going to the bar is okay, I guess, unless, just randomly, I don't know who would go into a bar and just randomly ask people the, questions, but, that may be a way where you can find people. But I would definitely use your social media. That's where I think you would get the most response and the widest demographics of people responding to the survey. I don't necessarily think it's bad to ask people within your family. I just would not, again, ask your partner or your spouse. But I think, cousins, uncles, aunts, I think those, this is just my personal opinion. I think those people are fine because they're not with you every single day. And most likely they're not people that are going through with you on this journey. And so they may not have, their viewpoint may be not as construed as somebody that's with you every day going through this. And so I think, personally, I think it's fine. But you can make that decision if this is your process, it's your business. But this is just something we just wanted to help you eliminate some of the biases that may come from desampling. Okay. Any questions? Okay, we'll go to the next slide. So how do you use your customer discovery data? Okay, so here's a model here. So if you look at the model, if you see the search side, right, you have a process where you're collecting your data, right? You're forming your sample group. You get all that placed together. You've got your list of questions. You've developed your survey. Then you move to the validation point. And that's where you collect that data, you analyze it, you put it into a format, whether it's charts, sticky notes, groups, whatever that is. And then you look at that validation data, refer back to your hypothesis. And if you find that you have to make changes, you'll have to start, you'll want to start that process over. However, if you've gone through the validation process, now you can move through the execution process. If that validation has found no changes, like everything is fine, the hypothesis is true, All of those questions you can answer. Now you can execute. So this is where you start looking at customer creation and moving towards building a business or growing your business. Okay, so it doesn't just stop at the data analysis. Okay, so there's still some more steps that you go through to get to that process. So what questions would you might ask as you're going through the customer discovery data? Well, looking at who your customer really is, you may have an idea in your mind, or you may have some customers that you are selling products to now, and you may come to find going through that process that, well, this really is not my customer. I'm really not marketing to the right group of people. You also will be able to discover, are there any new customers out there? And is this realistic? Is there a specific market available to me? You'll be able to find out where they live. Are these folks within your community, or do you have an access to a market to maybe where it's international? You can export and do all that kind of stuff. How are they going to purchase their goods? You'll be able to find out, are your customers searching more for online sales, especially during COVID now, because people are going back into the stores and the stores are opening up, but there's still going to be some people that are not going to want to do that. They're going to want to do everything strictly online. I know for me, for example, I love the online grocery store ordering because, one, I don't have to go in the store and fight the crowds, and two, I don't spend as much money. And so for me, I'm going to continue that process. I don't think I'm ever going to go back into Walmart to shop for anything, honestly, but I will do it online. If I have to do something specific, like maybe order a cake or pick up flowers or, something of that nature, that may be different. So for me, for Walmart, that's a whole new, customer market for me, to where that platform is going to work. And so they're going to be able to keep marketing their services to me as an online customer. So that's just an example of how that may work. And also too, your prices, are they in line with what the customer wants and what the market can handle? And those are some really, really important data points when you're going through this process to look at that, because that's how you make money and profit, right? Is being able to control your costs, being able to offer at a price point where your customers are going to buy, and being able to make a profit off of the customers when they do buy. And so the data discovery process will help you identify that. So how do you use your customer discovery data? Okay, so when you have this all collected and analyzed, you're going to look at refining your product or your service. So what do you need to do better with your product? And there might not be anything. It may be a service. Maybe it takes too long to ship something out, or maybe the referrals that are coming through on your website or your social media or whatever are not very pleasant for whatever reason. Maybe it's because you don't have a website. So that you'll be able to look at the changes that you need to make. Also too, you want to use this data to inform and create different strategies and help you position yourself in the market better. So those marketing strategies that you develop through the customer discovery process is going to be really, really critical. And moving into the customer persona process, which is the next step of the whole customer discovery. One thing I forgot to mention, I just now remembered, and I'm so sorry, is I forgot to mention that customer discovery is only a small fraction of market researching. There's a lot of other things that go into the process of market researching. If anyone has had that experience and what that looks like, please put it in the chat and share it, because it can be a lot of work, and it does take some time. So the discovery process, again, is just one of those key things that you use in the market research. It will help you also to look at the location we mentioned a little bit ago of your business. looking at design of your website, maybe even your online store, or moving towards another store as an additional service or a pivoting thing. Competition, and making sure you're researching them through the competition. And then the most key thing as you're coming out of the end of the customer discovery process when you're using data is you want to be able to research and develop very realistic sales projections and sales goals. And you want to be able to relate those or even identify them or incorporate them some way, somehow on your profit, loss, and income statements and your cash flow. So if you're not familiar with what those things are, we can work with you on those to help you understand and how do you use those tools. But these are going to be really part of that data discovery process, is that you be able to use those tools to basically meet your sales goals and make a profit that way as well. Okay. Any questions? Yes.
Yeah, I have a question.
Absolutely.
All the stuff that you're talking about, the discovery and all that, finding the customer, how do you compete against markets that are more well established? I'm talking more like solar. And as I was thinking about it, maybe I can't do the full service, but more of the product first.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of look at it, because I can't compete with the prices that they have, because the price I get from the lowest price, I have to add on some, and that puts me out of the market.
Absolutely. So when you're looking at your competition, and you've identified that, is it something that they can do at a lower price point, but how is the quality? How is the customer service? How is the availability? So there's some things that you can look at for the competition. You may not, like you said, you may have already found out there's no way you're going to be able to compete with the prices that they offer. But are there other things within that business that you could look at that you do better or can do better? Because I think people, go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe more of understanding that more providing a better service.
Absolutely.
Right there, on ground service that you're providing. You know your customer, you know where they live at, but the price is the part that I guess I can't get that market area that it can really sell. So I'm trying to sell it more. I provide a better service.
Absolutely.
Price that I get.
Yeah, and
for cost.
Yes, and you're absolutely correct, because I think people pay for quality, not quantity. And people come, I think your customers will keep returning to you, just one, because of the values and beliefs you have about treating the customer, maybe like family, maybe that's something that you look at, because who doesn't want to be treated like family when they walk into a place of business, also too, looking at the quality of work. I think that's really important, because we want as a consumer, and I'm putting my lens on and my hat on as a consumer right now, I want the best price I can get, but I also want it to be of quality too. And I want to be, treated the way I would treat someone. So, and I think, that's something, again, that you could really look at. And one way you can do that, I'm going to tell you right now, when you're looking at your competitors, Google is your best friend. You could just Google that business into a search engine, Google, Yahoo, whatever, put it in the search engine, the business that you're looking at, or two, or whatever, there may be more businesses, and you'll be able to look to see if they have any complaints against them. You'll be able to look at their reviews. You'll be able to look at hours of operation. You can even look to see if they're in good standing financially with the state of New Mexico. I mean, all of these things, there's so much there's Google, just Googling and using an internet search is your best friend when you're researching your competition. There's so much information you can collect out of that.
Okay. Well, thank you. That was something I was considering because, you know, like when you're dealing with solar, there's such a big market out there. Which one is the best product you can get?
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't make the right choice. So you gotta keep trying, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Yeah. And that's part of the entrepreneurial journey. You know, and for some people it takes years to, you know, to find out what works, and that's okay, because you can't have success without failure. And this is how you learn to do better. So don't be afraid to make those mistakes, but also too, make sure you're just researching, and you have you feel like you have done everything that you can do, and you've got the information that you have, and you feel confident and comfortable about those decisions that you're going to make. But I think you have an awesome opportunity to look at marketing strategies around just the customer service aspect of your business. You may not be able to compete with price, but I can guarantee you as consumers, that carries a lot of weight on how you treat your customers.
Thank you. It's very helpful.
You're welcome. Does anyone else have any thoughts to add to that conversation? Okay, we'll move on. Go ahead. Hi, yeah, go ahead.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I'm just wondering, like, if you had any thoughts on selling on Etsy, or how do you say it?
On Etsy?
Etsy, I can never say it right. Yeah.
That's okay. I have a hard time with a lot of words too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Itsy bitsy. I hear it in my head, but when I see the word, it just throws me off.
It is spelled kind of funny, huh? Yeah, Etsy. There's some good things about Etsy. You do have fees. And you do have, I'm sorry, go ahead. Oh, so Etsy, you have some fees. So you need to research those fees. Because if you don't make so many sales within a time period, you have to, you know, to start paying fees. I mean, the fees are somewhat low, but there are things that you need to pay attention to. There's really useful and user-friendly templates. However, some of the things that happen with Etsy is you really don't have an identifying sense of a business for yourself, because everything is standardized and uniform. And so you'll oftentimes hear, especially if you're making, jewelry or handmade products, pottery, clothing, metalwork, whatever, if I go and buy something from your Etsy store, and somebody asks me, oh, where did you get that beautiful necklace from? I'm saying, oh, I got it from Etsy. I'm not going to say I got it from your business. And so you really get swallowed up in the whole Etsy branding type thing. So your identity as a business owner is completely gone. So because every store is the same. Now, your image is going to be different, but the layouts and stuff like that is consistent. Another great one is Shopify. So check into Shopify. That's a growing platform, and I feel they're a little bit better than Etsy. So just weigh your options. But Etsy is a great way to start an online business. You just got to research those fees, and if you're okay with being, having your business identity kind of swallowed up in the Etsy world, then you'll do pretty well. It is heavily saturated. That's the other thing too. So, market. That's the other thing with Etsy too. You got to keep driving people to your Etsy store, because Etsy doesn't do that for you. That's your responsibility. That's part of your job description. So that's where you would use social media.
So for Shopify, what I think I've heard of it. How is it similar or different from Etsy?
So it's similar in the sense that you can sell your goods on there. You have a little bit more creativity on how you want to create your store. There are fees in court, as well, but there's not as many fees there. So yeah, so just yeah, Etsy, both Etsy and Shopify have kind of a toolkit that you can go through. You just go to their websites and you can go through the toolkit and look at what those things are that they provide within in that platform. The other thing you could look at too is if you are an artist of any kind, you make a creative product. ArtSpark is another one. I don't know much about it, but I do know that's a platform there. Michael, do you know anything about ArtSpark?
I did some research on it like a long time ago, but I can't really remember why I didn't go with that. And it may have just been laziness on my part that I didn't do anything with it. I do have a lot of different, you know, like I have a bunch of different platforms that I use because I paint watercolors, you know, so I do something that's reproducible, you know, so it's good for photography or painting, but not great for three-dimensional pieces. I use Fine Art America to do all of my reproductions on paintings. And then I also have a couple of t-shirt companies that I go through. I use TeePublic and Redbubble for that, but that's a completely different kind of thing. So I'm not that familiar with the ArtSpark, but I kind of remember reading an article about it, and it's kind of a cool thing. I also know that eBay has been pushing. There is a fee to set up an eBay store, but they do more. They kind of help you more than say like an Amazon store. So for, you know, like for handmade products and stuff, there's a whole, you can actually, I think they've got an online kind of video that they've done talking about how to set up an eBay store. And it seems like it's a little more user-friendly than Amazon because you're not competing against Amazon. Whereas on Amazon, you know, there could be, Amazon could be selling similar products to yours, whereas, you know, and people might be buying those instead, whereas on eBay, they don't sell any products themselves. They only are kind of the middleman to get people to your products.
Yeah.
That's a couple of options. I wish I had more information on the ArtSpark, but
yeah, I don't know much about ArtSpark either. I know some of our art clients, they have a store on ArtSpark, but yeah. But you know, one thing is definitely is, you know, look at your free resources for marketing. And I know we're kind of getting off of the topic here, but I think it's kind of helpful since we're just, you know, here and captivated with an audience. But you know, you definitely want to use like an Etsy store, or as Michael mentioned, eBay, Shopify. You want to use that as your, you know, your cash register platform, and then use your social media to advertise and push people to those platforms to buy your products. And that could be part of your discovery process and collecting that data and asking people, you know, how do you prefer to purchase products? You know, where do you buy your products most from? Do you buy them from Etsy? Do you buy them from Amazon? You buy them from eBay? And, you know, just list them out and let them tell you. And then you'll be able to collect that data. And then you can go back in and as you're building your business, you'll be able to say, okay, this is where I want to have my marketplace at. And so you have that channel there. And so you definitely can collect data on those platforms and where people shop the most. I don't use Etsy that much. Honestly, I use eBay a lot because I collect carnival glass, and I just spend way too much money buying that. But that's where I use eBay for. And then I use Amazon for everything under the sun. So those are just that's my limited knowledge of e-commerce platforms. But do your research and ask your focus group folks. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna mention that you know, I sell my mother's jewelry, and you know, I make some once in a while, but I'm mostly the sales lady.
Yeah, yeah.
And so anyways, I tried to sell, you know, a few times on Facebook sales,
Yeah.
you know, but I don't know about that. It's really, you know, they like bombard you with questions. You have to answer all of them at once, and you know,
Yeah,
it's
and
just, I don't know, it's kind of nerve-wracking.
yeah, and there's no consistency. There's no, there's really no loyalty too, you know, because you don't have customers returning. So it's kind of a one-shot deal with it. And so there, yeah, there's some pros and cons. Can you make a quick sale on Facebook? Yeah, on the marketplace, absolutely. But it's, you know, if you're looking to, you know, really build a business out of your craft, you really probably want to look at an e-commerce store that way. And, you know, like I said, use this customer discovery process as a way to find out which one might be the best for you and research it. We're almost to the end.
Or how about GoDaddy?
GoDaddy is a website. Yeah. GoDaddy is a website platform. So you can use GoDaddy to build your website.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can, they have an e-commerce section in there too, where you can, you know, connect your cash register to your GoDaddy website. So there's that too. Squarespace is another one you can do that with. There's several out there. There's a lot out there. You just research and find the best one that you're going to be able to afford, because most of them do cost money. So that's where you really want to look at. You know, you don't want to get something that's going to cost you, you know, $500 or $600 a year when you barely make that in sales, you know, as a startup. And so you really want to look at what's going to be the most cost effective, the most user friendly, and the most effective for your customers to access and purchase your products on.
One of the things I've found that I really like, which is different from Squarespace, is Square. If you use that as your point of sale, like to credit cards, they have a way you can set up an online store through them as well. And it's pretty cool what you can do with that. So you can essentially do kind of an online catalog. And I don't believe there's a cost to that. Obviously they take a percentage, you know, it's 2 point whatever percent of your sale, like any credit card processing company, but they don't, you know, you don't pay annual fees, you don't, and it's actually a lower, in my experience, a lower percentage rate than say a regular processing company. And they send you the equipment for free. You know, they might have you pay $10 or whatever it is for the thing, but then they don't take your, they don't take their percentage until that's paid back. So that's kind of cool. I forget what, you know, like if you get a regular little swipey card reader, that they'll mail you for free. But if you want the chip reader and it'll accept like Apple Pay and Google Pay and Samsung Pay, all those things. That is, I think, $45, which they reimburse you through repaying, you know, not taking their percentage off of that first $45.
Yeah.
But and really fast with depositing money into your account and stuff. So
yeah. Any other questions? Okay, well, I want to thank you all for joining us. I have a couple of housekeeping things. We will be sending you an evaluation form. So if you could fill that out and return it via email, we'd greatly appreciate it. Your feedback is highly valued to us because we want to know what we did well, what we need to improve upon. Was there something we can offer you that at a later date that you may be interested in terms of training? So that feedback is really important. The other thing is we're going to be sending an intake form, and that intake form is really critical for West as a nonprofit. The SBA is our funder. So all of our funding comes from the SBA to provide services to communities, entrepreneurs, and small businesses. So we greatly appreciate your help in collecting that information. All we do is report the data We don't share it. We don't sell it. It is confidential. And so we put it into a system, we run a report, and it just pulls the numbers from and information from that report. And also too, it gives you an option to, let us provide other information to you, like upcoming events, newsletters, and that kind of thing. So we're able to have that resource sharing with you through that form process as well too. So we'll be sending that out today. So if you could kindly return that form to Holly and I via email, we would greatly appreciate the support and help with doing that. Anything further, Michael?
No, just thanks to everybody who was able to attend, and we have another workshop coming up next week as well, which is now I've just forgotten, of course, because I'm talking about it, I've forgotten the name of it.
Holly's delivering that, so she can give a quick overview if you like to, Holly.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, so essentially it is just some tips and tools that you can utilize for your, your digital marketing, or if you are creating your own content, just helpful websites to help you build that if you don't have a lot of experience doing so, especially if you feel like you're stuck creatively. It's just going to be a couple of resources that I really like to use and help you guys out as you guys are trying to market your stuff, especially online right now. So
yeah, and then we'll be rescheduling or scheduling sort of the second part of this process that we discussed today, which is the customer persona for later, for early next month. June, since May is almost over. Hard to believe. And then, so I will send out information to everybody who was registered for today's workshop to let them know about that. And yeah, I think that's it.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for having us, Michael.
Yeah, thank you guys. And thanks everybody who attended.
Thank you.
All righty. Bye.
Bye-bye.